welcome back to our Bible study of the New Testament with the Jewish understanding behind it all. Thanks for joining me again. I'm Beth Shulam, and I appreciate your time for watching me each week. It really is a pleasure. So today I'm going to read from Romans chapter 8, where Paul speaks about the unshakable love of God and the incredible security we should feel in Yeshua. This passage also should have some implications for our understanding of God's covenant love with us and the eternal security we should find through the Messiah, Yeshua. I guess you're going to have to cut that out. So, let's look at what Paul says and see how it connects back to the Hebrew Bible and to some teachings of Yeshua. So again, Romans chapter 8. I always read from the Jewish Annotated New Testament, New Revised Standard Version, because that's my version of choice. I like how it reads. We're going to start at verse 31 and go through the end of the chapter. This is Paul speaking. What then are we to say about these things? If God is for us, who is against us? He who did not withhold his own son, but gave him up for all of us, will he not with him also give us everything else? Who will bring any charge against God's elect? It is God who justifies. Who is to condemn? It is Yeshua the Messiah who died, yes, who was raised, who is at the right hand of God, who indeed intercedes for us. Who will separate us from the love of Yeshua? Will hardship or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? As it is written, for your sake we are being killed all day long. We are accounted as sheep to be slaughtered. No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am convinced that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God in Yeshua, our Messiah. So Paul starts out and says, if God is for us, who can be against us? And I think this echoes the words of Psalms 118, verse 6. And that psalmist says, the Lord is on my side. I will not fear. What can man do to me? As believers in Yeshua, we understand that God is not only the God of Israel, but the God of all who are in the Messiah Yeshua, the Jewish Messiah who was sent for the salvation of both the Jewish people and the nations. And Paul says this confidence should stem from the fact that God has already given us his very best, his first fruits, his son, Yeshua. And just as God did not spare his son, but gave him up for us, we can trust that God will give us everything that we require. In Yeshua, the fulfillment of the Abrahamic covenants are realized, and with him we receive all the blessings of God's promises to Israel. And then Paul continues with a question. Who will bring any charge against those whom God has chosen? Paul emphasizes in this next bit that the security of our position is in the Messiah, is in Yeshua. God has justified us. Through Yeshua's sacrifice, we are declared righteous. In the Torah, in the Hebrew scriptures, the Israelites needed a sacrifice to atone for their sins. But in Yeshua, that atoning sin is fulfilled once and for all. And Paul tells us Yeshua is now sitting at, that's the right side of me, the right hand of God, the position of honor and authority. And not only that, he's standing there interceding on our behalf. This should be a really strong affirmation for you and me that no one can bring any charge against us because Yeshua, who died for us, is now advocating for us with the Father. Yeshua's work completes, and there's no condemnation for those who are in Him. And then Paul asks another question in verse 35 and 36. Who shall separate us from the love of Yeshua? Paul lists several trials and persecutions that we might face as believers. Trouble, hardship, persecution, famine, nakedness, danger, sword. All things that could cause fear, doubt, and maybe even our own death. But Paul assures us that none of these things can separate us from the love of Yeshua. And I think this is rooted in the love of God as an everlasting love. And we certainly see this from the prophet Jeremiah in chapter 31, verse 3. Jeremiah states that God says, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, I have continued my faithfulness to you. God's love is unbreakable. And Yeshua, as the fulfillment of God's promises to Israel, is the ultimate proof of that love. In the body of believers, we may face persecution, hardships, maybe even death, especially if we stand firm in the truth of who Yeshua is. But Paul encourages us that even in the face of persecution, God's love through Yeshua cannot be taken away from us. And then we come to one of the more recognizable verses in the New Testament scriptures. No. In all these things, we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. In the face of trials and hardships and persecution, we are more than conquerors. And I looked it up. This phrase in Greek, more than conquerors, means we have super abundant victory. An overwhelming, all-encompassing victory through Yeshua, the Messiah of Israel. The Israelites, we read in the Torah, were promised victory over their enemies when they went into battle, when they followed the commandments of God. But for us in Yeshua, the victory is more fully realized, not only in the physical realm of our world, but in the spiritual realm. Through the Messiah, we are more than conquerors, secure in the love of God, regardless of what comes against us. And Paul concludes with a beautiful affirmation in verses 38 and 39. He says, I am convinced that neither death nor life, angels or demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all of creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Yeshua. Paul is completely convinced, he says, nothing can separate us from the love of God. And this should be a profound and comforting truth for all of us. God's love in Yeshua is unshakable and eternal. No matter what we face in this physical life, His love remains constant and steadfast and unchanging. We have complete assurance that we're secure in His love. And we Gentile believers are part of that eternal love extended through Yeshua, the Jewish Messiah, who fulfills the promises of God to Israel and the nations. So as I finish out today, let's focus about that unshakable love of God. No matter our trials, no matter opposition we may face, nothing can separate us from the love of God in the Messiah, Yeshua. This love is a foundation of our faith and a source of victory. Thanks for listening today. Again, as always, if I've encouraged you in any way, like the video, subscribe to the channel so you can hear more, and share with others. I'd love to hear your thoughts. How does knowing God's love in Yeshua affect your life? Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear it. Until next time, please root yourself in this unshakable love of God and Yeshua, and may His peace guide you. Shalom, y'all. Bye.
קומי אורי, כי בא אורך, וכבוד אדוני עלייך זרח. קומי אורי, כי בא אורך, וכבוד אדוני עלייך זרח.